It's time to summarize and name the best horror movies 2024 of the year. Admittedly, this clip could have come out earlier. However, I was obligated to wait for the release of one high-profile premiere. Have you guessed which horror movie we're talking about? Be sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell so you don't miss the next videos, which will be released very soon. And also, write in the comments your top 3 best horror movies of the year. Don't forget to subscribe to the best TV channel about movies. So, it's time to get started. Long Legs, a movie that made a lot of noise this year. Some loved it, while others hated it with all their soul, but I simply couldn't leave Long Legs out of the list of the best horror movies of the year. This horror film, directed by Oz Perkins, features the great and terrifying Nicolas Cage as a deranged maniac. It has been called the best thriller since Silence of the Lambs and SC7EN, and the scariest movie in recent years. Unsurprisingly, after such bold claims, many viewers were left disappointed with what they saw. But for me, Soul Gatherer is a deeply unsettling slow burner, praised for its striking visuals, chilling sound design, and, of course, Nicolas Cage's haunting presence, from his appearance to his voice, which, by the way, sounds even scarier in the original version than in the dubbed one. Exuma, a wealthy Korean family from Los Angeles, suddenly finds themselves tormented by the vengeful ghost of their grandfather. Desperate for relief, they seek the help of renowned shamans, who must retrieve the ancestor's body from the grave and cremate it as soon as possible. However, a greedy employee at the morgue, where the remains were temporarily stored, becomes tempted by rumors of hidden treasure and opens the coffin, unleashing terrifying consequences. The role, starring Choi Min-sik, star of Oldboy and I Saw the Devil. It's a South Korean mystical horror film about trying to right the wrongs of the past. Late with the Devil, an unexpectedly brilliant film, stylized as a 1970s TV broadcast that made quite an impact this year. The story takes place on Halloween night in 1977. The host of a popular evening show decides to create something truly special, a live paranormal seance. The centerpiece of the event is a girl named Lily, the subject of the book Conversations with the Devil. Eager for high ratings, the showman has no idea how his attempt to communicate with the supernatural will spiral into a terrifying ordeal for himself and all the viewers. By the force that settled inside the girl. It turned out to be a kind of creepy satire, which, thanks to successful acting and shocking plot twists, can be called one of the best films of recent times in the found footage subgenre. Smile 2 is the long-awaited sequel to the acclaimed psychological horror about a parasitic demon that drives its victims to suicide. The sequel is once again directed by Parker Finn, and the lead role this time is played by Naomi Scott. In the center of the story, pop singer Sky Riley, who is about to return to the stage after a long break. A year ago, she and her boyfriend were in a terrible accident. He died, and her body was left with scars. Due to a sore back, she decides to stop by a dealer she knows, but the dealer is already ready to hand her over to a demon with a wide grin on his face. Many people consider the original tape on the head better, but in my opinion the sequel turned out to be no worse than the original, and in some places even better. After all, there are more memorable scenes, and the screamers are louder. Alien, Romulus. The horror movie that managed to restore faith in the Xenomorph franchise. The new installment, titled Romulus, is directed by Fede Alvarez, who directed Don't Breathe and Evil Dead. Black Book. The action takes place between the events of the first and second movie in the franchise. A group of guys stuck in a mining colony develop a plan that will allow them to escape to another planet. To do this, they need to infiltrate an abandoned space station to retrieve cryogenic capsules. Almost immediately, however, they encounter the deadliest life form in the universe. Coming up with something truly original in the Xenomorph franchise is extremely difficult. That's why it's left to take the atmosphere of hopelessness, well-drawn characters, and unusual solutions in terms of action. And with this, there is full order. The Terrifying 3. The top 3 horror movies of the year opens with the third installment of the franchise about an infernal clown nicknamed Art. without a doubt the bloodiest and most violent 2024 film of the year. The franchise Terrifying has always differed behind the extreme level of violence. But the threequel managed in this respect to outdo the previous films. Well, the clown art still remains one of the most emotional screen maniacs, while not making a sound. Sienna and her brother, who in the second part survived a terrible massacre by a clown art on Halloween, are again at the center of the plot. They try to return to normal life, however. The maniac does not slumber, and once again finds the guys to turn their Christmas into a sheer nightmare. Substance, one of the best horror movies of the year. Incredibly stylish body horror, which at the Cannes Film Festival managed to take the award for Best Screenplay. And the main roles were played by actresses Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. The plot centers on TV star Elizabeth Sparkle, who hosts her long-running aerobics show. However, she's not getting any younger. The channel needs fresh blood, and so the boss fires Elizabeth on her own birthday. Suddenly, the protagonist learns about Substance, a mysterious liquid that can turn her into a perfect version of herself. Substance's plot twist is reminiscent of Robert Zemeckis' Death and In Your Face, which also tackled the themes of aging and not accepting oneself in a satirical way. As I said before, not everyone will be able to sit through the last half hour, and it's not even because it's poorly filmed or acted, but because the finale of Substance is truly bloody and nauseating madness at the same time. Nosferatu, a movie that I simply couldn't leave out while compiling the top horror films of the year. This is a fresh reimagining of the German expressionist horror classic, directed by Robert Eggers, the visionary filmmaker behind The Witch in the Lighthouse. The plot of the remake remains faithful to the original. A real estate agent named Thomas travels to Romania at the invitation of Count Orlok, who resides in a gloomy, isolated castle. Thomas is tasked with finalizing the paperwork for the Count's new home purchase, but he soon begins to suspect that his eerie host may, in fact, be a vampire. The cast of Nosferatu is nothing short of spectacular. In Robert Eggers' version, nearly every element is masterfully executed, except, perhaps, for the depiction of Count Orlok himself. When you watch the film, you'll understand what I mean. The result is a hypnotic, bone-chilling gothic tale that stands as a visual masterpiece.